This is March monthly meeting, March the 24th, 5 p.m. We call the meeting to order. Reading of the appeal statement, Frank.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Appeal of decisions from the Community Review Board. Pursuant to the provisions of Section 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County Community Review Board may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ of certiorari. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to assure that time and procedural requirements are met.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Next item on the agenda, the chair remarks, we're facing a lot of things here in America, in Nashville, Davidson County as well. And we lost a great leader here in Nashville, Commander Anthony McClain, 27 years of service with Metropolitan Police Department, and a graduate of Tennessee State University. He was commander of the North Precinct, and he was very concerned about issues that were going throughout his sector. He himself would come around to different businesses and check and see did they have any problem or if anything they could do better. He's got a group they call the community group that goes around and put on programs and stuff at different events. And as a matter of fact, he's done a great job for the Community Review Board. He made sure that we had security at different events that we've had in the park and other places. I was working with the students that were staying at the hotel, and he come by and checked on me and to see what can be done and make sure that unit would come through and patrol the area and check on us to make sure that we're safe. And he's just a great leader, a great friend, and be well missed. And if we had more like him, we wouldn't have any problem. But God loved him better. And so we just thank the family for sharing him with us. And so God bless him. All right, let's move on. Do we have any public comments?
Not currently, Chair.
Not currently. Okay, if we do, just please advise me and let me know. Executive Director, do you have anything?
Because we covered so much information in the executive committee meeting, as well as we're going to cover some of the things that I talked about, and there's been no new information from the executive director standpoint, I'm going to pass on that if it's possible.
Okay, we'll move on further on the agenda. The board discussion on we'll do the sexual misconduct report.
Just 1 second.
While she's getting it together, I'd like to thank a young lady that D'Amica for giving me these red pallets. They very, very visible. I don't know what they call it, but we need to repay her for these pallets. They're very visible, and it does me a great job to see these red pallets. I can see them a mile away. Thank you.
I know this.
She's doing an outstanding job, and we're glad to have her.
Chair, can I make a comment?
Yes, go ahead.
While we're waiting, I too was very sad by hearing the news about Commander McLean, and he was such a good officer. He was a stellar law person and a friend of the community, and especially North Nashville, my home. And so he will be sorely missed. When I was the director of the Magruder Center, Commander McLean was just kind of coming on, but he was just an all-around good person. He was a good guy, and anything that you needed, if it was in his power, he would help you with it. And so from me and my family, and I can speak on behalf to the Community Review Board, even though you've done a great job, he will be missed, and we will try our best to honor him through this work as well.
Thank you.
Miss Jill, you ready with it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I wanted to just touch base on a couple things. People had reached out to me in reference to the sexual misconduct policy related to the things that weren't, I guess, implemented at this point or accepted on the front end for the roll call training. And so we talked a little bit about this in the executive committee meeting, and I just wanted to touch base on it here for members who may not have heard that information. So these are just really quick, just have a really quick just a few items. I want to talk, the first thing that was not included in their roll call was the training. And our policy, we suggest very specific topics that should be addressed in sexual misconduct training. For instance, while the new policy highlights the importance of employees receiving the necessary training to be able to recognize, report, intervene in, document, and investigate allegations of sexual misconduct, this policy does not commit to any specific methodology of training as suggested by the CRB policy. And then secondly, a great next step towards the effective implementation of this policy would be to ensure that training continues beyond officers reading and signing this roll call training document. So that was one. The next one was recruitment. We made some suggestions and recommendations related to that. And so missing from the policy and the roll call training were the CRB's recommendations relating to the recruitment and lateral recruitment processes. In the recruitment section of our report, we highlighted some screening topics that can be used to identify potential red flag behaviors in a candidate, which may indicate that they may previously engage in behaviors that may be considered sexual misconduct or abuse. And also, this may have been left out because recruitment procedures are documented elsewhere, like in the manual, also in the civil service rules, and then other official procedures. But it is important that the appropriate measures are taken to screen out candidates, or to screen a candidate's employment and criminal history for potential warning signs, and that should inform their hiring decisions. All right, and then we had auditing. This updated policy and roll call training document did not acknowledge the suggestion in our policy that MNPD conduct an annual integrity audit in collaboration with the CRB. External auditing by Metro agency helps improve or provide an additional measure of accountability and helps ensure that cases are only ruled as unfounded as a result of a thorough investigation. And then lastly, this whole thing, I think I got several calls in relation to the alternate reporting resources and resources offered to complainants by MNPD. And so the updated policy and roll call training document improved the existing policy because they highlight alternative agencies for reporting sexual misconduct. They also include requirements that supervisors offer supportive resources, safety planning, and connections to advocacy organizations, to complainants and victims of sexual misconduct. These alternative agencies are crucial as many victims are reluctant to report and share details of police sexual misconduct incidents to a member of law enforcement. And they may be fearful of the social consequences of reporting a colleague. A great next step, I think, is an implementation of this policy would be to draft a memorandum of understanding between MMPD and other relevant metro agencies, such as to establish some kind of SOPs so that they have effective collaboration and communication, and that also maintains the confidentiality of the victim to the extent permitted by law. So those are my suggestions. Thank you.
Local, are there any comments from any board members concerning her report, or you have anything you want to add?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
So it looks like we had about four areas that weren't included as we would have liked in terms of training, which we've been talking about training for, years now, and increasing it in MNPD. Recruitment, which we've been talking about as well. Not only the recruitment and lateral recruitment, but diversity in recruiting. And then, of course, auditing. And it would be great if we had an annual integrity audit to be conducted with MNPD. And then, of course, the alternative reporting resources that I know they put in they placed it within the policy. It just wasn't shown as an alternative reporting mechanism, correct?
Right, it was just like, these are agencies that you can, if you need additional support.
Right, but not necessarily explicitly as an alternative.
That's correct.
And I do think you have a point in terms of having partnerships or with an MOU with the individual with individual agencies, so we can protect the privacy of a victim, and not only that, it could go much further, depending on who it is, the sexual assault center and the practitioners in this space. So I think I'd like to know some ways that we could possibly kind of initiate that conversation, right? Since it'll have to be on an individual organization's own accord, if you will, how we can help start that process. And of course, I think these are all things because the policy was stellar. I think kudos to MNPD for having the courage to move forward with a zero tolerance sexual misconduct policy that was drafted by and created by the CRB. That's a pat on the back for them. But the four main areas that we're talking about tonight, I think if we continue to work with them, we could probably figure this out pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's my hope. The roll call training was something I think that they put in place for the immediacy of the report. But I do think that there's still room. It's in the implementation process for us to get involved and talk about the importance of these four things, because the training as well. All four of these just build trust into this process. And if a victim has alternatives, if they feel uncomfortable, I think that they should know that that is an alternative to them. And then, of course, the integrity audit, I think, is just something that they should always have. Every single process should have some type of auditing to it.
Right, and as a measure of doing things right. Right, like if we can get this right, we definitely want to make sure that we include the community so everyone knows about it. But then, really, just when we're looking at the specific training topics, I think that needs its own space, if you will, because the number of cases that we've seen over the years now, the topic of training and the diversity of the topics needs his own probably space in the conversations that we have and the building of the relationship that we have with MNPD, right? Member Wynn, in his absence, normally is the one that will take up the mantle, and former police professional Walter Holloway would take up that space when we're talking about how officers are trained, what they're being trained on. And so really kind of letting that space have a life of its own in collaboration with the CRB would probably be a good idea as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that one of the things that we don't know, so when I think about a person who has the ability to report these alternatives, we just need to have some type of understanding of how many agencies are involved and how many sexual harassment or whatever misconduct cases are actually being reported. At this point, we don't really know, because you can report at Metro HR, you can report at Police HR,
Right.
you can report at the OPA, you can report through the precincts. There's all these reporting, and so if someone asks me, well, how many cases do you actually have? I don't know that answer. It makes me feel uncomfortable that we are not really sure of how many cases that are reported for some form of sexual misconduct, so that we could just at least have some idea as we're doing our processes on what, how many are reported, how many have been cleared, how many have went, forward to other agencies, how many were prosecuted, all of these things, so.
Board Member Heather.
Thank you, Chair. On the alternative reporting agencies, you started to get into my question a little bit. It doesn't seem like we will be a part of the MOU, so we're encouraging these MOUs between MNPD and these alternative reporting agencies, but are we a party to these MOUs or not? Or are we just asking to be kind of kept in the loop when reports are made through those agencies?
Yes.
Director Fitzgerald, I'll let you speak to that, but I was under the impression that we would be an alternative reporting resource as well. So I think we would be involved in that way. But in terms of other practitioners within the community, I think, we wouldn't have as much say, but we would like to kind of help initiate those conversations. Attorney Brazil, do you have anything on that?
I do not.
To the end of initiating those conversations,
See these red pallets right here?
I'm sorry.
We'd like to use them, please.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Heather.
Thank you, Chair. To that end, some of these alternative reporting agencies are clients of mine, so I'd be happy to help initiate some of those initial conversations.
That would be great. Thank you. I'll take you up on that.
Okay, it would be great if we have a role in this process so that we can be informed, because it may be some investigation part that we may have to pursue as a part of the complaint. The police department do have some counselors, I believe.
They do.
That you can go to if they feel like they need to talk. Cause I know they basically have gone. They sent me to one on a stress situation, and just I found a dead baby.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So they sent me there to ask me a few questions, but it didn't bother me, because where I worked at, I've seen a lot of things, so it didn't really bother me, but they want to make sure that they cover to each person if they're involved in stressful situations, shooting or what have you, because it can have an effect on you where it could cause you to decline in your workforce or cause you in alcoholism and maybe drug use,
Right.
And so they want to make sure that they question you and see if they can get you some kind of training, and so they can help you. A lot of times we won't realize, but your family member might be aware that there's some differences in you that doesn't normally happen, And so they try to make sure that you get some kind of training and stuff. So
Yes, sir.
it'll be great that, we're involved in it. Board Member Cersei.
I need some technical assistance, Mr. Chairman.
We're gonna send you some. Is your, okay. See if that last screen works. Okay,
So I wanted to know, are we going to, make sure that each topic is addressed?
yes.
Okay,
Okay, we was trying to wait till you get through it.
okay.
You okay?
They're gonna send somebody. One of those were out anyway, so they're not really working well. So you may have to end up sharing, with Heather, if you, yeah, scoot down some. Cause I know that first one isn't working. Okay. Oh, you gonna switch over here? Okay, perfect. Pass these out. We'll get control to pass these out. Or they could just take one and pass it down. Did you get this? You saw this. Yeah, this is not. Just pass those down, Mr. Holloway. I love this thing. Yes, we're gonna let, Attorney, Brazil start off with this.
He has something on this topic, right?
Yes.
I do. Member Haddock, thank you. The CRB sent a letter to the mayor's office, and I think that most appropriate would be just to read the letter into the record. Do you have that?
I do.
Thank you. This is dated March 20th, 2025. Dear Mayor O'Connell, on behalf of the Metro Nashville Community Review Board, we write to express our deep concern regarding recent developments affecting an ongoing investigation into a 61-page whistleblower complaint alleging that Metro Police secretly worked with state lawmakers to strip the Community Oversight Board of its power. The board recently learned that in November of 2024, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation executed a search warrant and seized files from the independent investigators working on behalf of the people of Nashville. The unprecedented nature of this action raises serious questions about the status of the investigation and the rationale behind the state's intervention. Why have our elected leaders provided no explanation for this raid? The people of Nashville deserve clarity. Transparency and accountability are essential to maintaining public trust, and as representatives of the Community Review Board, we call on your office to provide a public update on the investigation itself, as well as the TBI's raid. At a time when confidence in government institutions is eroding, the people of Nashville deserve to know why this action was taken and what it means for the future of the investigation. We urge you to address these concerns openly. We appreciate your prompt attention to this matter and look forward to your response. Sincerely, Walter Holloway of the Community Review Board and Frank Ross Brazil of Brazil Clark. And this was transmitted the same day, and really what it is very simply calling for an explanation. We now know that, and this has been a topic of discussion for us for some time, most recently at our executive committee meeting, We know that Attorney Ed Stanton with Butler Snow will not be providing updates. We know that because we've requested them, and he has said repeatedly, we'll let you know on the back end of our investigation. But this investigation began last summer, and now we've learned through counsel for Garrett Davidson that a raid was conducted on, as well as on Mr. Garrett Davidson. His client, Butler Snow, was the subject of a search warrant, and the files, the first topic of exploration is the Metro Nashville Community Review Board. To my knowledge, no statements have been given about this, and that's exactly what we're asking for, is some kind of guidance here, because it does appear that investigation has been compromised, at least to some extent. The TBI used a Robertson County judge to execute a warrant on Garrett Davidson, and we'd like to know more. So we invite our leaders to provide a comment.
We have any comments from the board, any board member?
Yes.
Alicia first. Go ahead, Alicia.
I'd like to know how we got to March 24th, 2025, without any indication that the law firm that was hired by our local administration was raided by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and we not know about it. It's totally beyond me. I can't even think of a scenario where the legal department for the Metropolitan government would not inform a department, right, that was involved or named in these allegations in the 61-page complaint. I can't even think of a scenario why the Metro Legal Department wouldn't contact the Community Review Board. I can't, am I missing something, Attorney Brazil? I've been thinking about this, and I can't reconcile why our mayor, why our legal department, and others would not inform a party who was named in the complaint, but also a department of the same local government, and we not be informed.
Well, Chair Haddock, to answer your question, I don't know what we're missing, but it's something. And you are not missing anything. That doesn't make sense. It would be a logical outgrowth when you've commissioned a public investigation to provide the public with the knowledge that the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has seized files directly related to it from the lawyers commissioned to perform it. Mm-hmm. At a minimum, that statement should be expected. And it is really concerning.
Board Member Search.
Just procedurally, when we agreed in the executive committee to draft this letter, it was to come back here and be voted upon. Is that not right?
No, we had voted on before we went to the executive meeting that we would draft a letter so that we can send it to the mayor so that we can get some clearance of what's going on since it's been such a long time. We're letting the people know that we just not sitting here twiddling our thumb. At least we're moving forward. We're doing this letter so we can get some information.
Although I recall because I made the motion, mm-hmm. But I thought that it was to be voted on by the body before it went to the mayor's office. And if that's not the case, fine.
No, I think that when we met at the executive committee meeting, it was to confirm to go ahead and send the letter because we had already did that in the meeting before.
Yes.
Previous.
Fine. All right, that clears that
so,
up for me.
But like I said, it's too quiet, and I've always been suspicious of a police officer that if it's quiet, I don't hear something, then something going on. There's some talk, something being said. I need to know something. And that's one reason I thought that we should do something, let the people know that what we're concerned about it just as well as they are. And we're doing our part, and we're like just gonna sit here twiddling our thumb. And it was just something just hit me, say, hey, something is going on, and we need to know. And so this is, I said, I named some names of some people, when, as you can remember, that the mayor probably should know, the investigator should know that something is taking place. And hopefully, if we write this letter, maybe we will be informed of, at least give us some kind of indication of where they're at with it.
Have we had any response from this letter? I know it was sent, Friday, or Thursday or Friday?
No, we haven't heard anything.
Okay. Another question. What about General Funk? Was he involved in this in any way?
It is my understanding that he was not, and according to a series of letters written by counsel for Garrett Davidson, one of them being directly to General Funk, he was not aware and was, according to the letter written to him.
Board, Cersei.
Well, that's consistent with the skullduggery that's apparently going on with them getting an out-of-county judge to issue warrant. This really stinks. I mean, it reeks with a foul smell, what's going on here. And we should impose our own time limit on when we should expect to hear from the mayor. If we don't hear from the mayor by a certain point, we should have a follow-up procedure ready.
Board, Alicia had that?
Mm-hmm. I agree with a follow-up and at least a timeline, because this goes back to our sense of urgency and why we can't wait. We have done all the things right? We've been patient. We've been cooperative. We have not only worked with the mayor's office, we've worked with Metro Legal, and we've worked with the community to ensure that clear and open lines of communication was happening as it regards to this 61-page complaint that we wanted to make sure that the community was aware of. And so to get blindsided like this and for months on end, and we were asking for updates from our local administration and from Butler Snow, and no one could say anything or was willing to say anything about this. Member Cersei, it does more than stink. I don't even know what's worse than stinking as it pertains to being transparent and accountable to the people of Nashville, Davidson County. This is ridiculous. If we're talking about a 61-page complaint from someone that has allegations ranging from sexual misconduct and how those cases are handled to actual cooperation from our local MEMPD to dismantle and abolish the Community Oversight Board. Knowingly do that. These allegations are in this 61-page complaint, in this whistleblower complaint, and then it gets blown up by the TBI, and we have no idea. Shame on whoever's decision it was to not inform a sister department or the community on what has been going on. Shame on them.
Board Head, Heather.
Thank you. This is, I guess, directed at Attorney Brazil. I mean, what is our recourse if we don't hear from the mayor's office, if we don't hear from Butler Snow? What information are we entitled to as a named party?
What do you mean when you say named party?
We're named in the whistleblower complaint that they are investigating. Are we entitled to any information or any update? What's our recourse if we don't hear from, what do we do if we don't get an answer from the mayor's office or an answer from Butler Snow? What's the follow-up step?
That's a great question, and it's going to take some more thought. I mean, that's why we're relying on our leaders to provide us information, because allegations were made that the then Community Oversight Board, whose power was curtailed by the state government, allegations were made in a 61-page complaint that brass from Inman PD coordinated with the state effort to do that. And an investigation was launched, and I commend the mayor for launching it. There were concerns from the very beginning that that investigation was not as independent as we would like for it to be. And now there is information that it's been compromised. Do we have immediate procedural recourse? None that I can think of. But I hope that as we make this issue widely known, our leaders will speak up. That's really all we can do at this point, is rely on our leaders to inform the public about an investigation on behalf of the public, launched by our leaders.
Attorney, you kind of more or less took the words out of my mouth. I think that within a reasonable amount of time, we doesn't hear anything else from them. I think we need to let's go to the press with it, expose it to the news media, so the people can get what we've done and what we have asked for, and so they can be exposed to what's going on. They may not can give us directly to the particular parts of the investigation, but they can do more than what they've done to us, being a silent mouth with, and they can also let us know where they are on the investigation. It's been long enough to solve this case.
Well, I'd like to add here, just because I think it's important for the public to know, is if Butler Snow has been raided, is this investigation compromised? Do we need to talk about getting someone else to investigate this? Does that restart this investigation? I mean, we have no knowledge. And these letters came to light back I think it was November. And so I'm just concerned about this process in the sense that is Butler Snow actually conducting the investigation still? Or has it been called off temporarily? I mean, if all of their information was seized, I mean, how are they conducting their investigation? I mean, there's so many unanswered questions that we need to know.
And to be clear, we are in possession of the search warrant for Garrett Davidson's home. There's a property receipt listing the items taken. We are not in possession of the search warrant for Butler Snow or any type of property receipt. September 17th was the date that Garrett Davidson's home was raided.
I think it's long enough, and like I said, once we submit this letter, we'll see if we can get some response from the mayor's office and go from there. Board member Alicia had a...
Okay, so Attorney Brazil, September 17th is when the home of former Lieutenant Garrett Davidson was raided. Right?
Correct.
And we have that information. We don't have the information from the raid from Butler Snow in Memphis, Tennessee, but we know it happened. Is that what we're saying?
I don't know the specifics of where.
Okay.
But I have spoken to counsel for Mr. Davidson, who has confirmed and had correspondence with our leaders about the raid. So, yes, it happened.
Okay. Now, I would like to remind everyone that the Community Oversight Board was created with the blood of people who had died at the hands of police officers. Most notably, Jacquees Clemens and Daniel Hambrick. And in November of 18, we had an election and 134,371 people voted to create a resolution to create the Community Oversight Board. And it's 2025, and we still can't get a straight answer from our local leaders. Like, we're still talking about how we can be transparent and accountable in terms of police oversight, police accountability, and we can't even get cooperation from department to department or an administration who is effectively overseeing another department in Metro. I can't reconcile this, and I can't forget about the blood that was spilled just for this entity to exist. And so a lot of people may not care about this investigation. They may not care about the third party. They may not care about Butler Snow. They may not even care about the men and women who lost their lives. But we're charged to. We're in charge not only to care, but to understand this fully and make sure that the people in Nashville, Davidson County, that they know what's going on and that they understand it fully. I suggest that if we don't have a response by Wednesday of this week, then we call an emergency meeting or a special call meeting to determine what our next steps are to find out what's going on with this third-party investigation. It's important enough for us to know what's going on, especially since we've been asking, and these very, very important things have transpired, and nobody felt the need to tell us. And so I defer to the chair, and I know you said don't put a date on it, but I think if we look at this and say, just get back to us whenever you can, I mean, we're way past that. They could have told us in November. They could have told us at the beginning of December that this has happened. But since they didn't, I think we deserve an answer. And when I say we, the community deserves an answer on why we didn't know that the office that was charged to do the third-party investigation the documents were seized. And we've been asking and nobody can tell us I mean, they couldn't even tell us just with common courtesy, Chair Holloway, that this had happened.
I agree with most of what you said, but you're saying Wednesday is not going to cut it. Today is Monday. At least give them a week, at least a week.
So Thursday.
A week.
We'll give them one extra day. The letter was sent out last Thursday.
The letter was sent out. My thing is give them a week from this meeting.
Next Monday.
Next Monday, yeah. I mean, that's the other board. Give me a motion on it, and we go from there.
I make a motion that, what are we making a motion on?
Yeah,
That we send
what date we need to hear from the mayor?
And how will
And
the
that'll
mayor
be
know
next
that?
Monday.
We send correspondence and ask for him to. I make a motion that we, give the mayor until, the mayor's office until Thursday of this week, to respond, to the letter that we sent last Thursday.
You heard a motion for, do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
We got a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed,
Nay.
nay. So the motion failed. Now,
I'd like to make a motion.
board member Cersei, go ahead and make a motion.
I move that we give the mayor until Monday to respond.
Motion on the floor, to give the mayor Monday to make a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Look like we got, two in favor and one nay, so the motion passes. We'll give them Monday. Okay, let's go to the next item on the agenda. Civil technology case management system presentation.
So just to let you know, we got a new case management system, and we wanted to make certain that the public knew how they could file a complaint through this process, because it is slightly different than what they'll see. This is a lot more innovative for them. They can keep track of their cases. And so we wanted to share with that so that the public would have this information, because we will release a press release on Wednesday, in connection with civil technologies. And it will go out just like it has in other cities. And so this is something new. I think it's great. And we are working through the process with them as we build this system out. So give us 1 second, and our research team is going to present that to the public.
We're having some brief technical difficulties. One moment.
While he's doing that, have we had any response for any public information to come in yet?
I'm sorry.
While he was doing that, wasn't there anybody from the public call in or send an email?
Let me check. I don't think so. I haven't received any emails. And sometimes when they contact me, I'm not getting any reception down here. So if they sent I'm not able to get it. So they would have to email it. I don't have any new emails. Do you have any Ms. Cash, do you have any? Okay. Is this not working up here? Is it that?
No, it's with my computer.
Oh, okay.
Since we logged in with a personal account before, it's allowing me to verify and re-log in.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Are you able to use your phone?
Yeah.
While we're waiting on that, I did want to I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, in regards to these code of ethics. And so I just wanted you all to have a copy of it. I think Mr. Brown suggested that we all take heed to these code of ethics. We have used these, we updated them slightly in regards to the adoption of the National Association of the Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, NACO's Code of Ethics. And then we added some additional ones for us. I think it's important that we hold ourselves to the highest level of integrity in my office, doing work, this type of oversight and accountability work. And so we added this oath of honor on this. And we took this oath of honor from the Code of Ethics. And the oath of honor was adopted by the International Association of Chiefs of Police. And it says, "On my honor, I will never betray my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will always maintain the highest ethical standards and uphold the values of my community and the agency I serve." And so I just wanted to let you all know that that is the new Community Review Board's Code of Ethics. Okay.
Are you ready now? If you're done, I got something I need to clear up on this last motion. Let me clear up a motion that
Okay.
that was made clear to me by Board Member Haddox. The first motion was passed. It was 2 votes to 1. She had made it clear that my vote didn't count. And so that first motion should have passed, so we just need to withdraw that. Her motion was to give them to Thursday. And so she did have the number. We kind of overlooked that. We just want to clarify that. I don't want to be...
How is 1-1? If your vote didn't count, it was 1-1. Oh, I'm sorry. Heather voted for it.
I didn't. I'm sorry, and I apologize. I didn't see her. I didn't see her vote. I didn't see her vote, and I stand to be correct. I'm not perfect, but I try to stand my ground. And so the first motion really passed, and we want to be clear about that. We want everybody to be fair and have a fair chance to speak on this board. I don't want to intimidate nobody. I don't want nobody to intimidate me.
Okay. So if I heard correctly, then the second motion has been...
The second motion failed.
It failed.
And the first motion passes, so
The first motion passes, is moved. That's what I was going to say. That's the word. Okay.
And so we will go to Thursday, but their excuse, and even though it's passed, but let me say this right here. Their excuse going to be didn't have enough time, but they did have enough time because they had last year, to get the work done, and we can always play with the day and the time. We can always play with we don't have enough people. We don't have enough staff people to do certain things. That's just an old thing that we've been used among time. But Thursday was what we went with, and so that's what we're going.
And so if I'm hearing you clearly, then I just want instructions on what it is that you want us to do. So tomorrow you want us to send out some information and saying that they let them know that we are expecting a response from them related to this letter, and you will receive it. You want it by Thursday close of business?
Yes.
Okay.
And so just correspondence saying we would like to have a response. The sense of urgency is what this is about. We are past, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks getting back with us. That's totally unacceptable. So we would like to have a response by Thursday.
Board member, hey.
Thank you. Do we need to include any information about why we're wanting this response by Thursday? You'd mentioned an emergency called meeting for us to determine next steps. Do we need to include any of that information in the notice?
We could. Attorney Brazil, do you think that's needed? How would you structure that? Because you're the ones that'll be sending it, correct? And Chair Holloway.
I'm not sure that I would go into that in this correspondence. I think that It's well understood why it's needed. I'll reiterate that a series of letters were written by counsel from Mr. Davidson to the mayor, to the director of Metro Legal, in November of 2024, saying silence is likely not the best course of action here. As an investigator, when the independence of your investigation is questioned, I would think that's something you would want to immediately let everyone know when it's a public investigation.
Let me say this, you send them a response tomorrow, but technically, you know, this is recorded. They already know. They already know. I understand the work, how they work. You know, I did it myself for 30-some years. So I will have meetings sometime, and when the meeting was over, they knew exactly what was said. And we didn't have no recording, no cameras and that type of thing. They knew what we said. They knew where we met. The only time that I could get information that I didn't want them to find out, I'd go to the person and tell them face to face. So this ain't no secret. People at home watch this, they know what's going on. So we'll do it. We'll see what happens. Okay, you ready? Okay.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Dylan DePriest, and I'm the policy analyst of the NCRB on the research team. So today we'll just be doing a quick overview of what our new case management system, Civil, looks like from the user side. So I just want to give a brief disclosure. We have not done our public release yet. Like Jill mentioned earlier, that will be later in the week alongside Civil. So this is a fun little sneak peek for all of those tuning in and here tonight watching us. So this also is an interactive demonstration, so please feel free to ask questions during it, and either myself or my colleague on the research team, Travis Stratton, will be happy to answer any questions you all have. So to begin, this is what the home page will look like for someone who wants to fill out a form with the NCRB. So here there are 3 different options that users will have. There's a complaint form, which is probably what most of you all are most familiar with in terms of the work we do. So that would be to file a complaint with an officer or officers within MNPD. There's also the commendation form for if you want to have commendations or talk about a really positive experience you've had with an MNPD officer or officers on that second one. Or finally, there's a recommendation form. So that is if you have any research recommendations for the NCRB, any recommendations for NCRB policy or how they handle procedures. That is really kind of that catch-all form that we strongly encourage community members to tap into and use. Is that a hand over there? Oh, okay. So those are the 3 main forms that are here right now. There's also a frequently asked tab right here that you can click. And right now it's mostly frequently asked questions about Civil, but as we roll it out too, it should have more frequently asked questions about the forms as well. But right now, the community can find out more information about Civil and the software we're using here. Finally, really, a great feature that this page has is if you go down here to the language section, there's almost every single language you can imagine here. So we have English is the default, but of course, all the most common languages spoken in Tennessee, Nashville specifically, like Spanish, Chinese, Kurdish, Arabic, Thai are all on here. And so I'll just do a quick demonstration. And Somalian too. Yes, that is one of the 5. Thank you. I'll just quickly flip it over to French, so that way if we get stuck in that one, I can change it back. But so it'll change this whole front page, but it'll also change all the language in those 3 forms as well going forward, which is really exciting. And this is a huge win for us in terms of being able to reach communities that we had previously had trouble reaching before due to language barriers. So this is really a huge accessibility win for us. What was that? Yes. So it should be on Arabic right now. It also makes it pretty easy to switch between either on this homepage or during the actual form filling out as well, which is very nice. So with that, why don't we go ahead and switch back over to English, and we'll go ahead and get into the complaint form. All right, so on this page, it gives a brief overview of what filling out a complaint form does and what the NCRB's role in this process is. Here, it lets you choose whether you want to file the complaint anonymously or include your demographics. So if you hit yes here, none of this information is required, which is really nice for those who are maybe a bit nervous about filling out a complaint or don't want their personal information attached to it. But if you select no here, then various fields will change too to be required. So this is a really adaptive and useful tool for collecting that information. So I'll go ahead and just do a sample one using my name. You can select multiple boxes on these check-ins, which are nice if, maybe 2 or all 3 of those work. And I'll just do... And here there are a lot of options for cities and counties as well. So it should be pretty expansive of any region of Tennessee at large, yes. But to keep it simple, let's just stick with Nashville. And we'll do our office zip code. All right, and then there's these different methods. Once again, you can choose between 1 or 2 or 3 if you want methods of contact. All right, so this next form will go into some of the more specific details of the actual complaint. So let's say that this complaint happened today. That would be March 24th, 2025. The incident time, let's say it was 8 a.m. Street name, we'll just have it as the same as my fake address. Nobody try to go there, it's not real. And we'll say, once again, this is in Nashville. And 37219. All right, now in this section, if you have the information of certain officers, you can put that in here as well. So let's say this is just going to be Officer 1. His badge number is 11111. His description, he was tall. You can click here, this little plus, to add additional officers. So we can go ahead and say this is Officer 2. And we'll say her serial number is 22222. And she was short. And then here, there are different questions, basically asking you if you are the one with the complaint filling it out, or if you're doing this on behalf of someone else. So again, it makes it pretty accessible for different situations. So we'll just keep it simple for this, though. Are you submitting this for someone else? No. Did you witness the incident? Yes. I'm the complainant. We don't need to fill this out because it's me. And then if you have additional witnesses who are at the scene, you can put those names and contact information here as well, the relationship to you. Once again, there's a plus here if you would like to add multiple. And here is where you can briefly summarize what happened. So, for example, we'll just say, we'll say 2 officers came into my house uninvited. Apologies for any spelling errors. And so you can make that as long as you need to. It's a long response form, so I don't believe there's a text limit, so feel free to put all the details involved in there as you wish. And then here is a section to upload files. You can upload pictures, screenshots, videos, etc., in case you have anything that you believe would support your complaint. And finally, down here, if there are any external links as well, you can attach those. So we'll just go ahead and hit next. And here, once again, going into accessibility, it asks you about primary languages and if you need translation services. So we'll just say yes and no to keep it easy. I'll just make my birthday super easy. There's a lot of demographic self-selection, which is great, so that we capture, any identities that might be filling out this survey. So you have an option for male, female, or prefer not to answer for gender. And it also, like the other boxes, you can select multiple too, if that is your preference. Race and ethnicity, once again, are self-selected with the option to check multiple boxes. I'll just go ahead and put white. And likewise with ethnicity, it has Hispanic or Latinx, not Hispanic or Latinx, or prefer not to answer. So for me, I'll do that. And then once again, you can select multiple of these boxes depending on who is filling out this and what their preferred pronouns are. Now this section, when this question is basically asking whether complainants are interested in mediation. So if they are, then we'll have a phone call. A member of our team will have a phone call with them to discuss what mediation could look like as an option in their complaint. And this isn't legally tying them or binding them to mediation as the solution by any means, but it's basically just asking if they're interested to discuss mediation as an option. And this will, yes.
Can you talk a little bit about I'm just curious with the mediation, is this just the complainant and the Metro Police Department? Who else is involved in that? What does that look like?
Yes, so that's a fantastic question. So for mediation to happen in a case, both parties, so the complainant and the MNPD officer or officers involved, have to both agree to go forward with mediation. So it involves, yes, both the complainant and individuals within MNPD. And so the service that MNPD uses for their mediations is the Nashville Conflict Resolution Center. Yes. So basically, yeah, someone from our office will call them and discuss what mediation could look like. Then that'll be sent to OPA that the complainant is interested in it. And if MNPD and OPA are also interested in mediation as an option, then that complaint can get forwarded to the Nashville Conflict Resolution Center. But because mediation is something for it to really work, both parties have to be actively interested in. That's why both parties need to agree to do it. Yes.
Excuse me, does any board member have a question? Thank you. I won't put nobody in the corner here today now.
Thank you, Chairman. At that point, when it goes to mediation, is there any representative from the CRB involved at that point, or is it kind of just put into the Nashville Conflict Resolution? And
do you want to answer that, or do you want me to?
When we were the Community Oversight Board, we received information back, like all of it's mostly confidential, but we received some kind of report back that would say whether it was successful or not, with a little blurb. But at this point, we haven't had any cases that have been referred for mediation.
All right, so here I'll just select yes, and then if there's a specific outcome you're seeking, you can put that here. So I'll say policy change, for example, if you don't want this to happen to someone else. And then here, this is really important. It basically acknowledges what actually submitting this complaint looks like. So the most important part is that these statements are true and factual at the top, but then it also goes into how you may be reached out to by OPA or MNPD for additional questions. And finally, and this is really important, is that by filling out a complaint, it is both unlawful and against Metro Nashville Police Department's policies to retaliate against anyone who files a complaint. And so I'll just select yes, that I understand that. I am not a robot, as far as I'm aware, and I will submit the complaint here. And now this is really important. So when you submit it, it'll give you this case number right here. So it's important to write that down or copy it. That box will automatically do so. So that way you can receive information and updates on that case later. If you have an account, then you can go to your account too to see the status of complaints. But if you don't, it'll actually be a button here that will let you create an account and automatically link it to your complaint. But if we go back to the home page, I'll just quickly paste that number here, and it'll go to a tracking number with said case, updates on it. It was received today, it looks like. It's waiting to be processed, and it has my answers below. So once again, we're super excited about this new case management system and expect an update this week with our rollout from Civil. Thank you all so much.
And I think that this is a way for the community, the person who's filed the complaint. And, 'cause sometimes you call, you may not get the person, that you have this to go to. And then once you set up an account, you can see where it is within the tracking. And so I think that that's helpful. It also gives people an opportunity to look at their stuff like immediately, not wait like for business hours.
So what are you saying, that if the people had that tracking number, they'll be able to pull it up, or call the office, and the office can pull the information up for them?
Absolutely, yes. If a member of the community has that tracking number, they can go into this portal and look at any updates, but they are also welcome to call the office and give them the tracking number as well. From our side, we can easily look up their case by their tracking number.
That sounds like a great job. Any question or any comment from any board members? Thank you. Oh.
How are we going to market this portal?
That's a great question. So we're working on a direct collaboration with Civil, so the owners of the software, this week to have a joint rollout together. And that'll definitely see action on our social medias and with our community engagement team so that we really try and spread the word. When we go to community events as well, we'll also make sure that any representative of the CRB who's talking to members of the community shares that this is an option as well. And I'm sure we'll have either QR codes or flyers, physical flyers at events with this information as well.
Attorney Frank, did you have any question?
I do not. Just holding my paddle.
Okay. If there are not any more questions, we'll go to the next item on the agenda, which is the NCRB case reviews, and whichever one you come over first, that's what we'll go with.
Okay, I just wanted to say two things first. The first thing is, if you notice, as we are doing this work, we are looking through the process of like what's the most expedient way to present these cases. So if you noticed on this particular, these cases, we took out the findings of facts and we kind of modified the report a little to fit the review. And then secondly, Dr. Kim is going to read the report that she created so that she can tell you if you have questions related to that one. So I'll start with the first one. The first one is compliance review report. It's NCRB case number CC 2024-011. This is the allegations of misconduct against Officer Sean Fitzmaurice. Number 1, abusive treatment. Number 2, conduct unbecoming. And number 3, deficient or inefficient performance of duties. The summary of the complaint allegations are such. Brandon Wallace, hereinafter called the complainant, made a complaint to the NCRB on January the 29th, 2024, and alleged that on February the 7th, 2023 at 2:40 a.m., he arrived at the Motel 6 parking lot located on Stewart's Ferry Pike, and parked his vehicle. Shortly thereafter, his girlfriend was dropped off by an Uber at the location. The complainant reported that his girlfriend entered his vehicle, began to dig in her handbag, searching for the hotel room key. While they were sitting in his vehicle, a patrol vehicle pulled up in front of his truck. The officer, Sean Fitzmaurice, exited his vehicle and approached the complainant on the driver's side. The complainant reported that officer questioned his activities, and he admitted that he was in the vehicle smoking before going to his hotel room. When he attempted to exit his vehicle, the officer prevented him from exiting, but then asked him to step out of the vehicle. Once out of the vehicle, the complainant told the officer that he did not have probable cause to detain him and asserted his right to walk away and go to his hotel room. The complainant stated that the officer grabbed him by the hood of his sweatshirt, which tightened around his neck, and he was slammed against the bed of his truck. He stated that the officer patted him down and told him he was being detained. The complainant alleges that when he attempted to turn around, he was forced to the ground, and backup officers were called to the scene to assist. The complainant stated that while on the ground, he was kicked in the face, the head, and choked because the officer believed he had swallowed something. The complainant stated that he sustained injuries to his back, his head, and legs. The policy violation is MMPD Manual 4.20.040, personal behavior and abusive treatment. MMPD Manual 4.20.040, personal behavior D, conduct unbecoming of an employee of the department. And lastly, number 3, MMPD Manual 4.20.050, official obligations. F, deficient or inefficient performance of duties. I won't go over the timeline. There was a review of the evidence. Some of that evidence is the OPA report file. In this particular case, there was an MMPD 108 supplemental report it was an investigative summary use of force report, and that was conducted by a lieutenant that worked directly with the officers at the Hermitage precinct. So the mediation was not offered. So the OPA investigative findings, I will review those slightly and then move in to the NCRB review. So in this case, we reviewed the OPA. Sergeant Woosley stated that he reviewed the body-worn camera video. His account was that the officer observed the complainant sitting in a parked vehicle at 2:58 a.m. As he approached the vehicle, the complainant rolled down his window. The officer detected the odor of marijuana coming from the vehicle, and the complainant confirmed by telling the officer he was smoking a blunt. Officers requested additional officers, and the complainant stepped out of the vehicle and told the officer that he just wanted to go to his room. And the officer told him that he was being detained, that he wasn't free to leave, and he needed to turn around and put his hands behind his back. The complainant did not comply to the verbal command and continued to try to go to his room. At one point, when the complainant attempted to leave, the officer grabbed the front of his hoodie and told him that he was not free to leave. The complainant continued to not comply with verbal commands and eventually tried to flee the detainment. The officer was able to apprehend the complainant and hold him until backup arrived. And once other officers arrived, they were able to assist with taking the complainant into custody. And while the officer was putting on gloves to search the complainant, he attempted to flee while handcuffed and ran into the woods. But he was quickly apprehended. And during the search of the complainant, officers recovered some drugs. And at one point, the complainant bit down and ingested what was believed to be crack cocaine. They called an ambulance, and he was transported. I'm assuming he was at some point transported to booking. I'm not really sure what happened. It's not clear whether he was transported to the hospital. The NCRB's review is similarly the same as what OPA reviewed in the body-worn camera footage. I will say that when the officer asked him to to put his hands behind his back, and the gentleman ran off, there was a struggle that ensued. And they were, when the video camera, when the second officers arrived, the in-car camera showed the officer and the complainant tussling on the ground. They immediately jumped out of the vehicle and assisted with detaining the complainant. And then the complainant was lifted up, handcuffed, and then he was standing beside the trunk of a vehicle, and the complainant then, as the officer had him in front of him, he was putting his gloves on, and then the complainant ran into the woods. And I just wanted to say you cannot see anything when they're in the woods. The woods are very dark, but it was a very quick detainment. Like, he ran into the woods, he must have fell down, and then, they were bringing him right outside of the woods. And at no point, so I'll read this. It says, OPA's conclusion was that the officers acted within established policies and procedures. Sergeant Woosley from OPA concluded that the officer initially made a consensual contact that turned into probable cause for the detainment of the complainant. And additionally, the officer used the appropriate level of tone while getting the complainant to comply with his verbal commands, and used a reasonable amount of force to arrest the complainant. OPA's action is that abusive treatment, personal behavior, MMPD Manual 4.20.4040, personal behavior and abusive treatment, the recommendation is exoneration. The second, personal behavior, D, conducting unbecoming of an employee of the department, OPA's recommendation is that's unfounded. MMPD Manual 4.20.050, official obligations, deficient or inefficient performance of duties, the recommendation is unfounded. The NCRB concludes, the executive director reviewed the evidence in the case and concludes the officer did not violate any MMPD policies, and OPA's investigation is complete and their findings are satisfactory, and the NCRB has no further recommendations. And that concludes the case. I'll take questions.
Question from any board member? Board member Cersei?
There was body-worn camera footage.
Yes,
And-
there was lots of body-worn camera footage.
And at any point, did that footage display the allegations regarding kicking and physical abuse of any kind?
It did not, and I did address that in my review, that there was no, I'll read it. It says, Officer Joshua McGarvey's in-car camera captured the scuffle, and there were no kicks to the face, the head, or body revealed on the body-worn camera or in-car camera as reported by the complainant. I will tell you that based on when he ran into the woods, we could not see what was on the body-worn camera footage, but he was almost immediately apprehended in the woods. So it wasn't like he was in the woods and, so I don't know what was on that camera, but based on this in-car camera and all of the other cameras, I didn't see any kicks to the head or face or body.
Was there any questions of where he had to be taken for medical treatment?
No, I will say that they did an excellent job. The paramedics that arrived on the scene, the complainant was placed in the back seat of the vehicle, and he also was handcuffed, and he was laying down. Officers continued to check on him and tell him, no, you've got to sit up, you've got to sit up. And they were concerned because he had ingested something in a plastic bag that they thought was, or said that it was crack cocaine. There was drugs, narcotics laying on the back of the trunk. And I didn't see when he did that because the officer was facing, and then he was leaned over, and so it just had his back. But I will say that when the paramedics arrived, they immediately went to him, set him up, kept talking to him, and then they also were going to use a Narcan on him. And so he was treated kindly and respectfully from my perception of the video and perspective.
That was, Chair.
Boy, I had that.
Okay, that was my question. So in reading the CR,
R?
CR, CRR?
Yeah, CRR.
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 CRR. Just wanted to make sure that, when the ambulance was called, that he was taken to the hospital and not directly to booking. I know he probably ended up in booking, but he went to.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They did have, they had, it was all redacted, so I couldn't really tell. They were in the ambulance.
Okay.
And so, you could hear a little bit, but because they're in the ambulance, the officer is not in the ambulance with them, so he's standing here, so you're picking up like what it sounds like from a distance. And I couldn't recall, but I believe that they took him to the hospital in the ambulance and then to booking.
One more question. So do we know if it is protocol, practice, or policy that if MMPD uses or Narcan is being used on an alleged suspect, that person goes to the hospital and not directly to booking?
I think, I'm not sure. I'm assuming so, because they would have been, you use Narcan when you think that a person has overdosed.
Right.
So I'm assuming
Commander
that.
Lara, you think?
Yeah, maybe Commander Lara can, I would suggest that they did.
Good evening. So if somebody is going to have Narcan, then we'll usually call EMS to come and check them out. We're using Narcan, they probably, taken something, usually fentanyl or something similar to that, and they need medical treatment. So we'll go ahead and call EMS. If EMS says, whatever they say, we'll go by their guidance on the medical portion of it. But usually they'll go to the hospital if we've had to administer Narcan to them. So it just depends on the situation. I couldn't say anything specific on that one, but usually, sometimes we'll administer Narcan and it's not actually what causes them to come out of what they have. So we may think, hey, they passed out, it appears that they're breathing hard, let's administer Narcan, and actually the Narcan is not, just because you administer it doesn't mean that is what brought them out of whatever state they were in.
Okay.
And so it just all depends on the situation.
Okay.
But if we do know that it's medically, he took fentanyl or something like that, they're going to the hospital.
Right.
So-
But it's not a guarantee if they're given Narcan that they're going straight to the hospital.
No, because the Narcan, sometimes officers will, look at the subject and go, hey, it appears they're overdosing, and they're actually not overdosing, but, they may be really drunk or something like that. But they'll, whatever caused them to believe that they're overdosing, we'll go ahead and they'll administer Narcan if they think that that's what they need. And then, kind of reassess the situation. Sometimes we'll give Narcan and it won't do anything because the Narcan specifically works for these specific types of drugs. It won't do anything, so we'll go, well, if they don't need it, then it may be something else that we're looking at. But we usually, if it looks like they're having some type of medical issue, we'll call EMS and let them assess. So.
Board Member Cersei.
If there had been a transport to a hospital, there would have been a medical report. Is that not correct?
That's correct, and there was no medical report here.
And there was no
and
medical
remember,
report, yeah.
they talked about Narcan, but they didn't administer Narcan in the vehicle, that I could see. And it's because they were saying it was crack cocaine opposed to an opioid.
Right.
Right?
Well, the reason I asked that is because if there had been a medical report, then the physical abuse that he complained of would have been manifest. And, so it looks like what happened was that EMS showed up, they administered the overdose compound and did not transport him to the hospital. That's what it appears to be. But
they did, if they didn't take him to the hospital, which it didn't show in the documents that I had, they assisted him and gave him medical treatment on the scene.
On the scene.
What I will say is I didn't see at any point in the videos that I watched where he was kicked in the head, kicked in the body, or kicked in the face, as he suggested in his notarized letter to us.
If there was a situation where he had to be transported, the EMM would have made that decision themselves right there on the scene. They're not going to neglect anything like that. And they would have transported him to the hospital. So apparently he did not. So the officer are not going to, once you got the EM there, they're going to put it on their back, get the weight off them.
Yeah.
and then let them make the decision. And that's what happened. Are there any more questions, concerns?
Let me say, I have an update on here. Hold on
Okay.
1 second.
If I can, just one more thing, just to make clear, anytime EMS, we're calling EMS for medical assistance, they're the ones who make that call. You know, we don't have any say on that. If they say they need to be transported, they're the ones who make the call if they're transported. We don't have any say on that as officers. So just want to make sure that the board understands that we don't make medical calls because that's not our place and we don't have the training for it.
And it looks like it appears that there is some documentation where they transported him to general and then to booking.
Board Member Heather?
Thank you. I just have a follow-up question. Anytime a Narcan, do you all use Narcan outside of EMS coming? Does Metro Nashville Police Department use Narcan when they arrive on scene?
So
if needed?
we have Narcan that's assigned to us, and if we go up to a call and we see that somebody is in medical distress and we believe that the Narcan will be what helps them if they're overdosing on fentanyl or something sort of similar to that, we will administer Narcan even before EMS gets there.
Okay. And so there is no internal policy that anytime a Narcan is used by your officers, that EMS is called or contacted? Is EMS called every incident of Narcan use?
I can't say the exact policy. I can't recall the policy itself, but I can tell you if somebody's in medical distress, we always call. If we believe that somebody has a medical, is having some type of medical issue, we'll call EMS right away. And that's one of those things we'll let them know, hey, if I'm administering Narcan, I'm actually putting it out, to dispatch, hey, or somebody knows that we are administering Narcan. If you're administering Narcan, we're calling EMS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or
any type of medical issue, we're calling EMS and let them clear the person. So.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? Jill, you have any more comments?
No, it just says that the Nashville Fire Department ambulance, I didn't know who it was. I didn't know if it was EMS, but it was the Nashville Fire Department ambulance. They arrived, as I said, and then it says here, transported to Nashville General Hospital. With the office, one of the officers was in the back. During his medical treatment until being relieved by another officer to take him to booking.
Okay, board member says got to leave, but we would like to take a vote on this before we leave.
Thank you.
What was your conclusion on that, recommendation on that disciplinary?
I didn't have a recommendation.
Okay. Anybody in favor on how to recommend, being unfounded? It was unfounded.
Yes.
I move that we support the recommendation of the,
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passed. Okay. Mrs.
if somebody could go out and check to see if my bus is there, if they're not there, I can hang.
Okay. Okay, we'll go with the second one.
All right, the second one is NCRB case CC 2024-012. The allegations of misconduct by Officer Cody Bergquist is number 1, conduct unbecoming. Number 2, deficient or inefficient performance of duties. Number 3, courtesy against Officer Carson Denny, conduct unbecoming. Number 2, deficient or inefficient performance of duties. And number 3, courtesy. The summary of the complaint allegations are Richard Kell, hereafter referred to as the complainant, made a complaint to the NCRB on January the 29th, 2024, and alleges that on January the 27th at approximately 2:20 a.m., he was at a Honky Tonk Central in downtown Nashville. While at the bar establishment, he slipped and fell to the ground. According to the complainant, unknown bouncers helped him off the floor and informed him that they were contacting the police for further assistance. When MNPD officers arrived, the complainant was placed in handcuffs and put in the back of a patrol car and was left in the vehicle for an hour and a half. While in transport to the jail, the complainant stated he was uncomfortable because he previously had back surgery, and the way he was positioned in the vehicle caused extreme pain to his back and shoulder. The complainant stated that he expressed his discomfort several times to the officer by asking for help, and the officer never responded nor assisted him. The identity of the officers was not known at the time of the complaint and was discovered during the investigation process. Officer Carson Denny, hereafter referred to as Officer 1, was the officer that responded to the incident scene, and Officer Cody Burquest, referred to as Officer 2, was the arresting officer. The policy violations are Manual 4.20.040, personal behavior, conduct unbecoming of an employee of the department. Number 2, 4.20.050, official obligations, deficient or inefficient performance of duties. And number 3, 4.20.4.040, personal behavior courtesy. The evidence that's been reviewed, the OPA report file, the arrest affidavit, the ECC CAD history report, the NCRB complaint, body-worn camera footage, and in-car camera footage. No mediation was available, was not offered, and the investigator findings was such that Sergeant Ted Woosley stated that he reviewed the body-worn camera video footage for Officer 1 and 2, and this is his account of what he reviewed. Officer 1 approached a security guard who was standing outside of the honky-tonk bar. He explained to Officer 1 that the complainant had been asked to leave but refused to do so. At the 1:30 mark of the officer's body-worn camera, Officer 1 and a backup officers approached the complainant. The officer told the complainant to leave and that if he did not leave, he would be charged with trespassing. The complainant continued to sit and asked why he was being told to leave. He never complied with the Officer 1's directive, which was to leave the business, and was subsequently arrested. According to the body-worn camera, the time frame was less than a minute from when MMPD asked the complainant to leave to the actual arrest, and no force was needed to effect the arrest. Once outside, the officers briefed the other officers on the scene. He was told that the complainant refused to leave and was arrested. When the complainant was searched, he pleaded with officers to let him go, stated he didn't know that he needed to leave the establishment. After the search, he was placed in the back of the patrol vehicle at 2:27 a.m. During the time, the complainant showed several indicators of impairment, such as repeating sentences. He appeared confused, unsteady motor skills, and failing to follow directions. Officer 2 entered the vehicle and prepared paperwork for the arrest, and at 2:51 a.m. headed to booking. Officer 2 arrived at booking, assisted the complainant out of the car at 2:58 a.m., where he was escorted into the Sally Port to await booking process. The total time that the complainant was in the vehicle was 31 minutes, and in that time frame, Officer 2 checked his handcuffs, completed paperwork, and transported the complainant to booking. And then while they were in the Sally Port, the complainant laid down on a bench and made repeated statements that the officer was hurting him while the officer was not near him. Throughout the duration, the complainant's agitation increased. He began yelling confused sentences stating that his handcuffs hurt. His handcuffs were checked multiple times, and it wasn't until after his controlled fall that he claimed his back hurt. That is OPA's investigations. And so the NCRB review, I reviewed the body-worn camera video. That information, it was a very crowded establishment. There were security officers surrounding the complainant. They had asked him to leave, and then they called the police, and the police came in and asked him to leave multiple times. And he did say multiple times, for what? For what? Why do I need to leave? For what? Once outside, after he was handcuffed and taken outside, he began to say, I didn't know, I'll comply, don't hurt me, it hurts. I watched all that on the body-worn camera. He would say that and I wasn't sure whether he was saying the cuffs hurt or his back hurt. And so the officer did check his handcuffs multiple times. Both officers did. It was obvious. The complainant stated that he was intoxicated. It was clear that he was intoxicated by the amount of yelling and things that he was doing in the back seat. He probably was not clear on the time frame. And so all of that information was in the body-worn cameras, and the complainant stated in his initial complaint that he was intoxicated, had fallen from a bar stool in the downtown bar, and was thrown into the back of the patrol car by the officers, which was contradictory to the evidence shown on the body-worn camera footage. That I never saw that. And so OPA's conclusion and actions were that they did a check on his handcuffs. They used a procedure they put two fingers inside the cuffs, which is a technique taught by the MMPD Training Academy. And so their actions for 4.20.040 personal behavior, adherence to policy and rules of the Metro government, to wit, handling and transport of prisoners, is exonerated. The NCRB's conclusion is the evidence was reviewed in this case, and Officer 1 and Officer 2 did not violate MMPD policies, and OPA's investigation is complete and their findings were satisfactory. As for the intake, our procedure, our intake, with our intake actions based on what the complainant said on his initial intake, those cases 4.20.040 for personal behavior, conduct unbecoming of an employee of the department, is unfounded. NCRB's recommended actions for complaint allegation 4.20.050, official obligations, deficient or inefficient performance of duties, that's unfounded. And then lastly, 4.20.040, personal behavior, G, courtesy, that is also unfounded. And that concludes my report. I'll take any questions.
Okay, any comment from the board? Okay, since there's no comment from the board, let's get a motion to accept her recommendation.
I make a motion to accept the recommendation.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. We got the last report. Has this ride come yet? Okay.
Okay.
We just have to, the other report, I just go to the next meeting.
Is it short, long? I haven't seen
It is,
5 to minutes.
Yeah, I can speak as fast as I can, if you want to try. Run with it? Okay. I'll be presenting compliance review report, NCRB case number CC 2024-034. The allegations of misconduct by NCRB are against MNPD employee Rhonda Hagar for courtesy, and also against Sergeant Clifton Knight and Sergeant Eric Cunningham for number 1, deficient performance of duties, 2, discrimination, and 3, courtesy. The summary of the complaint allegations: on April 2nd of 2024, Mr. Jeffrey Riley, hereinafter referred to as the complainant, filed a complaint with the Nashville, Community Review Board. He alleged that on August 29th, 2023, at approximately 4:09 p.m., MMPD employee Rhonda Hagar, hereinafter referred to as the employee, instructed him not to call the Central Precinct. The employee was the female individual identified to have spoken with the complainant. Subsequently, the complainant stated that on August 29th, 2023, he contacted the non-emergency number and spoke with Sergeant Clifton Knight, hereinafter referred to as Officer 1, and Sergeant Eric Cunningham, hereinafter referred to as Officer 2. He alleged that the officers were deficient in performing their duties, were discourteous, and discriminated against him. The policy violations are MMPD Manual 4.20.040, personal behavior courtesy. Also, MMPD Manual 4.20.050, deficient and inefficient performance of duties, and 4.20.040, discrimination. As it pertains to the evidence reviewed, the Assistant Director received the investigation file and it contained the following information, which was carefully reviewed. The OPA investigation, the audio interview of the MNP employee, email communications, MNPD work brain system, and APR reports. Mediation was not offered in this case. As it pertains to the OPA investigation, investigative findings, this as follows. OPA investigator Sergeant Ted Woosley sent an email to the complainant on April 30th, 2024, requesting follow-up information and for complainant to elaborate on his complaint against the officers, supervisors, and DEC individuals. The complainant spoke to Daniel Yoon, who is a former NCRB staff member, to relay this information. Per the email Mr. Yoon sent, complainant stated his complaint was against the woman he spoke with at the Central Precinct between 4:09 and 4:16 p.m. and any supervisors who participated in enforcing the directive against him. Sergeant Woosley determined that more investigation was needed. The case was assigned to Detective Quinn White on May 6, 2024. The complainant contacted the Central Precinct on 8/29/23 at approximately 4:09 p.m. and spoke to the employee who alleged did not assist him. The complainant further stated that he was advised by the employee not to call the Central Precinct anymore. On August 29th of 23, at approximately 4:16 p.m., the complainant contacted the North Precinct at approximately 4:16 p.m. and spoke with Officer 1. Complainant alleged that the Officer 1 failed to assist with complaints and he did not receive any assistance. Complainant contacted the North Precinct at approximately 4:29 on 8/29 and spoke with Officer 2. He also alleged that he did not receive assistance. On April 30th of 2024, OPA investigator Sergeant Ted Woosley sent an email to complainant requesting follow-up information and to elaborate on his complaint against the officers, supervisors, and DEC individuals. The complainant spoke to Daniel Yoon, again formerly an NCRB staff person, to relay his information. Per the email Yoon sent, complainant stated his complaint was against the woman he spoke with at the Central Precinct and any supervisors who participated in enforcing the directive against Sergeant Woosley. Sergeant Woosley determined that more investigation was needed and assigned to the case to Detective Quinn White on May 6th of 2024. A telephone interview was conducted with employee on May 8th, 2024. Sergeant Woosley sent an update to Mr. Yoon via email on May 9th. DEC was contacted via telephone and email on May 13th, seeking an interview with the representative. On May 13th, the OPA, Detective Quinn White, conducted an interview with the employee. The employee stated the complaint called the Central Precinct over 100 times since 2020. Employee hung up on the complainant several times when he became irate, rude, and refused to respectfully communicate. The employee did not recall instructing complainant not to call back. The employee admitted that she did disconnect the phone call once the employee became disrespectful and irrational. The complainant called multiple police precincts for several years, demanding to speak with the commander or the police chief. The complainant was advised to contact the 862 number if he would like to make a police report. The complainant continued to call the Central Precinct while blocking his phone number repeatedly. The employee reported that the complainant called the Central Precinct 16 times in one day. The employee reported that the complainant also contacted other agencies, specifically the Department of Emergency Communications on multiple occasions. The employee reported that the complainant lived in Durant, Mississippi. The employee called the Durant, Mississippi Police Department, where the complainant resides, and asked them to go by the complainant's home to speak with him regarding his multiple calls to the Central Precinct. The Durant, Mississippi Police Department did visit the complainant at his home, and the phone call stopped for about a year. On May 14th of 2024, Detective White requested a detailed call log from Police IT for the Central Precinct during the alleged day and software used to track employees' schedule, time, and attendance. The employee completed her work shift at 4:30 p.m. on 8/29. As to the NCRB review, the findings are very similar. I will just read this part where it says, in this case, OPA conducted a thorough investigation. Both the complainant and employee were contacted and interviewed, and the OPA investigators confirmed employees' identity by using the MNPD WorkBrain system, which is used to track the employee's work schedule. Email communications between Sergeant Woosley and Mr. Yoon verified the complainant's complaint was against the employee. Additionally, the OPA investigation revealed that the only MNPD employee involved was a civilian employee named in the complainant. As to the OPA conclusions, the OPA concluded that the employee acted within the established policies and procedures of the MNPD. The complainant alleged that on August 29, 2023, between 1609 and 1600, he called the Central Precinct and spoke to a woman who did not assist him and advised him not to call back. The woman is presumed to be the employee. Employee had spoken with the complainant on several occasions in the past, and the employee admitted that she did terminate several calls when the complainant due to his disrespect and rude behavior. The employee further stated that she did not recall informing the complainant not to call the Central Precinct. Even if she had advised the complainant not to call back, the employee's actions would be deemed reasonable, considering the complainant's past actions and inability to communicate rationally. For this reason, the allegation was found to be exonerated. So again, in the OPA action, the MNPD Manual 4.20.040, Personal Behavior Courtesy, it was found that the employee was exonerated. The NCRB conclusion is that the assistant director reviewed the evidence in the case and concludes that, number one, the employee did not violate the MNPD policy. Officer 1 and 2 were not party of the complaint, and any allegations of misconduct made by the complainant against them is unfounded. And the OPA investigation is complete and findings satisfactory. The assistant director has no recommendations. And again, as far as the 4.20050, deficient and inefficient performance of duties are unfounded, and the MNPD 4.20040, discrimination, is unfounded. And that concludes my report.
Board Member Cersei?
For future reference,
Yes.
I have it on good authority that Durant is pronounced Durant
Durant, thank you, sir.
by Mississippians.
Okay, thank
you. What was the discrimination? His charge was discrimination because a woman had denied him
Yes,
some service?
Initially, he claimed or alleged that the woman told him not to call the Central Precinct when he was calling the office repeatedly, but the discrimination initially was alleged on the sergeants when he kept calling back to speak to them and they would not assist him, and that is the alleged discrimination.
Wow. Is there a motion in order?
If no more comments, then we get a motion to accept.
I have a comment.
Okay.
It'll be very, very brief. So, can we verify if the information in the complaint is accurate? So, even though the Officer 1 and Officer 2 were not found to be even involved in it,
Correct.
is there still, because of inaccuracies, is that why? Because what was in the complaint is effectively untrue? Is that what we're saying here?
based on the interview that happened between, I believe it was Detective Quinn White and the employee said that she did, of course, hang up on several occasions because he was rude, but she did not at any point recall telling him not to call back. And that was the basis of his complaint, is that he was told not to call.
Okay.
But he was calling other organizations, the DEC, several different, repeatedly.
Okay.
Do we get a motion to accept the conclusion?
Second.
Just a second, okay. It been proper, all in favor, say aye. Okay, then. We have concluded that report. Brother, Board Member Searcy, you may leave. Okay, this is really coming to the end of our meeting. Before I end the meeting, I would like for Damika come forward. Now, you know, you understand right there. I just want to thank you for these red pellets. And hopefully board member will get used to raising them, but it costs money. And I want you to get reimbursed. So. Okay, then. I tell you, we won't spend no money out of Metro here now. Okay, then. All right, then. Do we ever get any public comments? Okay, then.
No public comments.
Okay, any new business?
We have some new business that, Ms. Cash, there is a community, can you talk about what's the date of the new business? We have a community event.
This is April the 5th.
No, it's May.
May.
May 3rd. May 3rd, we have a community event. They can find all the information to it. It is on our social medias. It's a cultural event. We also are having a town hall meeting, and we'll come back. So save the date. I don't have the date, but it's in July. So we'll have that information for our community town hall.
Okay, for a record's sake, could you give me the April executive board meeting and the regular board meeting date, just for the record's sake? I know you sent it out.
Okay. Let me give you that right now.
We just want to get a recording of it.
Okay, so our April meeting is scheduled on, I think it's April the 9th. Yeah, April the 9th is our next meeting for the executive committee at 5 o'clock.
You sure it's April 9th? It don't sound right, but we'll take it.
Oh, I'm sorry, maybe it's April the 16th. What's the date for the meeting? Is it 16th? It's April the 16th.
Okay.
Okay.
And the board meeting is
The board meeting is the 28th.
the 28th. Yeah, I'm just doing this just for the record's sake, for recording of it, and to make sure that we're clear on it.
Okay.
Make sure that we're on the same page. And I get a motion to adjourn. All in favor to adjourn, say aye. Okay, thank you all for coming, and I appreciate it. It's still kind of rough right now, but we're gonna do what we can to be effective. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.